Imagine you're at the starting line of a 100-meter sprint. Your friends and family are there watching. Some of them are even in the race with you. Before you even get a chance to warm up, you're off and running. You start off with immense power. Your head is down and you accelerate nice and quick. You're feeling good with not a care in the world. 10 to 15 meters in, you start to look side to side. You want to know how you're doing in the race. You look over and some guy has better shoes than you. That guy. Now we're jumping over a bunch of hurdles for some reason. It's a hurdle race now, it's not even a sprint. 20 to 30 meters in, you look up and there are people way ahead of you. What a shit feeling. I was always pretty terrible at running in high school, so I know that feeling in the literal sense quite well. Some people might feel motivated by that. They might run faster to catch up, but for a lot of us, it is demoralizing and you might even feel like giving up. Now, obviously this video is not about running, but the experiences of unathletic me in high school are not unique or isolated to that specific scenario. These feelings are a part of life itself. Feeling behind in life sucks, but you're not alone. And in this video, I hope to share some tips for dealing with this. It is extremely common to feel like you are behind in life these days, and for good reason. Never before in history has it been so easy to compare yourself to others, to look side to side while running instead of focusing on your own lane. It is normal and natural to compare ourselves to others. We likely evolved that way. For example, back in the day, I'm talking thousands of years ago, you might have noticed that your neighbor's crops were growing faster than yours, for example, and it would be beneficial to you to emulate that and to learn from them so that you can also have good growing crops. But back in the day, you'd have your own little village or tribe and you'd just be doing your own thing, whatever village people do. You would have no idea what someone across the other side of the world was doing, nor would you even care. Fast forward to today and we are bombarded with photos and videos in high definition of people with their fancy cars and expensive dinners and multiple houses, and it's a lot. We can't help but compare our ordinary lives with their extraordinary lives. So we've established that it's normal to compare ourselves to others, but what actually leads to that feeling of being behind? Enter the success versus time graph. Can't think of a better name for it. We've got time or age along the x-axis and we have success along the y-axis. We all have our own unique line on this curve that goes from obviously when you're born at 0 up until 80 or 90 or 120, say if you're extremely healthy. The vertical distance between us and those we compare ourselves to is proportional to how behind we feel compared to them. We might even feel beneath these people, but as my jiu-jitsu professor, Gabrielle, always says, we're all on the same plane. There might be some people ahead of you or behind you in life or jiu-jitsu, but yeah, we're all walking on the same plane. So anyways, let's deconstruct this graph to figure out why we feel the way we do and also maybe what to do about it. Let's briefly discuss the time axis. Without getting too deep, a big part of this is our own mortality. We all know deep down that our time here is finite and limited. We have one life. This can either be a source of immense pressure or distress in your life, or alternatively, you can let it motivate you to stop being so hard on yourself and motivate you to try harder to enjoy life. Now, success. This is a bit prickly. The ideal shape of that curve that I mentioned earlier and what our life trajectory should look like depends heavily on the society that we live in. It may feel like you have to do certain things by certain ages, but who actually decided that? Was it your decision? It's okay and even a good thing to have goals and milestones set for yourself, but you need to do this with care and with intention and know exactly why you have these goals and not just accept those given to you. The other big part of this is what success even means and how do we know where to put ourselves and others on that axis. Again, if we don't actually think this through for ourselves, we'll just end up adopting whatever society tells us success means. I can only speak for men, but right now that success seems to look like sleeping with lots of women, driving expensive cars, and being filthy rich. If we don't define what we actually want in life and what is enough, our default will always be more. That is a guaranteed path to misery. Think of how many rich and seemingly successful people there are in the world that are just miserable. Material success and external validation are not the path to happiness and fulfillment. I think I'll make a whole video about this, but there's an exercise in a book that I really like called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And essentially he tells you to pretend that you're at your own funeral. It's a bit bleak. And yeah, he asks you to think what you want other people in your life to say about you when you're gone. Would you rather people talk about how big your house was or how many cars you had at your funeral, or would you prefer instead that they talk about your character, your integrity, how reliable you were, how present you were, how kind you were? None of these things require money or external success. You can do that. You can do all of those things right now. Material success can definitely motivate you in life and be a source of challenge or triumph that can enhance the fulfillment that you feel in life. But don't be fooled into thinking that it's the entire point of life, because it's not. Without getting too nihilistic or anything, it's important to recognize that we're all just floating through space on a big blue rock, and none of that stuff actually matters. They say that comparison is the thief of joy. And while this is pretty true, I don't think it paints the entire picture. There are some massive benefits to social media and the internet that I don't really see people talking much about. The fact that we are able to have exposure to millions of people all across the world can be an absolutely fantastic thing. We can find people that are living the type of life that we want to live. People that we can look up to, learn from, and be inspired by. It allows us to see what is possible and not be limited by our own imagination or conditioning that might have been passed down to us. A mindful approach to the internet can actually have a tremendous positive impact on our life. We just need to be cautious and mindful of the fact that you're only seeing the people that are doing really well. You're not seeing the millions of people that are struggling. To compound that, you're only seeing their highlights as well. So you're seeing the 1% of the 1%. You should not compare that to your everyday life, because it's just not realistic. Recognize that what you see is not reality, but let it inspire you to move towards bringing more of that good stuff into your own life. And lastly, this is a big one. Unfollow anyone that makes you feel like shit on social media and also in real life. Just editing the video now, and I thought I'd add in something else that came up in a conversation with friends recently. When comparing yourself to others, you have to recognize that not everyone starts at the same starting line. To extend the running analogy, some people have a head start. In the financial realm, this typically looks like rich parents. Don't be hard on yourself if you moved out of home at like 18 years old, studied at uni for 5 years, and can't afford to buy a home at 23. Obviously, don't be spiteful towards those other people, but try and be kind to yourself because you're probably doing the best that you can. As we're all running towards the finish line of life, I'd like to end this video by encouraging or perhaps reminding you to enjoy the journey along the way. Enjoy the small things, the sun shining on your face, the air filling your lungs as you run, helping someone out as they're struggling. We're all on this track together, but it is not a race. It is something much more special than that.